So I've had a chance to play a lot of DMZ mode in the past couple weeks. Right off the bat, I just want to say I love the mode. Great mode, got a lot of really good aspects going for it, but I think, obviously it still leaves a lot to be desired. And I think there's a lot of obvious changes that need to be made. Pretty much everyone has an opinion on this at this point, or at least an opinion on what the endgame should be. If not that, then they at least think that there should be an endgame. So I thought I'd throw in my 2 bits about the subject, kind of my wish list for this game mode. So I mean, first and foremost, just all the obvious little bug fixes and crashing issues that we have. They seem to have done a lot to kind of stabilize from the crashing perspective, but there's still a lot of issues with like AI clipping into the ground, being able to see you through walls, contracts spawning in places where you can't grab them, just a bunch of those little things that just need to be fixed. I think that's obvious, and I just want to get that out of the way first. I kind of go from it's kind of obvious, and then towards the end we'll talk about the crazy stuff. Second thing we all want is a way to play this mode at night. One of the first things I noticed about this mode was that it is just so bright and sunny outside. I feel like it doesn't really work with the kind of theme that the mode is going for. Like if they even just made it a little overcast, just a little bit of gray, just not quite as vibrant, then that would just make the mode feel that much more thematic. But I do think that at the very least we should have some like limited time mode that comes in every once in a while. Every other weekend or so we get like a night raid mode so we can actually do some stealth, use our suppressors. I think that would be very popular. Again, I think that it's only a matter of time before stuff like that gets implemented. Along that same note is maps. We know for sure Warzone's going to be getting new maps, and I think it would be stupid of them not to make those maps compatible with this mode also. I think that would be a big deal for this mode, just because then you'd be able to play across multiple maps. You could get tired of one map, try another map. It would just improve the longevity your patience with this game mode if you could swap between maps. I think it would be really cool to have a return of Shadow Company. I think I'm not alone in saying that I would love to see Graves make a comeback. I love that man's face. I mean, how cool would it be if they were to just have Shadow Company invade Al Mazrah, kind of go to war with AQ. You'd have actual firefights going off at random parts of the map. That way it would kind of disguise player movement a bit more, because right now if there's a firefight, you know instantly that that's going to be an enemy squad. But if there's actual infighting with the AI, that could make things a little bit more interesting, even just for like a really limited time mode. Additionally, that would make it possible for higher end contraband to be found on AI, because Shadow Company, they got good loot, they got good equipment, so it'd be really cool to see some high-tech equipment and just have a chance to fight them that way. Oh yeah, here's an obvious one. We should be able to upgrade our stash, especially for people who don't own the full game. They only get like 10 slots in this contraband stash. And even for me, who has 20, I am constantly running up against the wall on this thing. The community's already set on the fact that we want cash to be able to transfer out of a raid. You want to be able to have like a large pool of cash that you can draw from and use for different things. And I think a really obvious one is upgrading your stash size. You could have it upgrade by like 5 or 10 slots for every like $3 million, $6 million, $10 million that you dump in. You get progressively bigger until you got a 50 slot stash and you paid like 100 million to get it that big. It would give you a little bit more of an end goal. Again, I think this one's obvious. It shouldn't be that hard to implement, but I don't know. I mean, I can't even destroy the right gun when I click on it. So the other thing, I think it would be really cool if you could pay to edit a contraband item. So let's say you wanted to add one attachment to this gun, you could pay like $5,000 or $10,000 to upgrade that gun. Even make it more ridiculous, $50,000, $100,000. But then if you wanted to add a second attachment, it would become exponentially more expensive. $200,000 for the second slot, $400,000 for the third slot. What that would do, it would make it so that there's still a reason to look for really good high value contraband, but once you get it back to your stash, let's say you get a near perfect gun, it's got 4 out of 5 slots filled, just want to add that one attachment that would make this gun perfect, then you can add it for relatively cheap. But if you get a naked gun that doesn't have any attachments and you want to fully spec it out like an insurance gun, you're going to have to pay about $1.5 million to get that gun exactly the way you want. I don't know. I think that would be a good way to just add a little bit of extra money sink, and it would make contraband feel a bit more valuable. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and this one's pretty wild. Bear with me for a second. Just taking a look at the battle pass, right? You got this whole lineup of weapon blueprints that all kind of share some general characteristics. There's an overall theme to them, right? Well, what if they were to take that concept and spread it out across all 50 guns in the game. It wouldn't have to be necessarily this complicated. They'll want to make it feel a little bit less premium. But even if they made a very simple blueprint, they take that blueprint and they apply that across all of their different guns. Do that like 3 times. You've got 150 blueprints across so many different guns. Take those blueprints, you spread them out across the map in the form of actual guns, in the form of literal blueprints that you have to craft up in your hideout. Then there's like the really nice ones that can only be found by taking out the chemist or by taking out the commander and extracting the weapons case. You add another tab up here that says like collector or something like that. This guy, he's this contact who's looking to try and complete his collection of all these different firearms from these different brands. And so your job is to go into the DMZ and extract all of these different guns. Extract the blueprint, you have to craft it up. Once it's in your stash as a contraband item, pull the gun out, and then you choose to donate that gun to the collector. The collector wants one of every gun, so there's a reason to collect all of them. And then once you collect like all of, let's say you collect all of the LMGs, for example, at the end of that, you get like a special calling card or an operator skin or something cool like that. And you could even have it so that if you go to the collector, you could have like a little special shooting range. It's like in the collector's home, a shooting range where you get to try out all these different blueprints that you've collected for this guy. Once you complete the whole collection, then you unlock that blueprint fam to use across Warzone and multiplayer and all that sort of stuff. This would basically make the game a bit more like an MMO. Warframe, for example, where you get those cabbages, use those cabbages to supercharge a mission to extract with like a piece of prime loot, just a blueprint that you craft up, and those get traded on the open market so that people can complete their collections of all these different pieces and parts to all these different things. Blueprints would serve the same purpose. You could have 150 of these blueprints. Some are very common, like the MP7. MP7's everywhere. They're the most common loot that you find just behind every locked door. And then if you want like the really rare one, like let's say SPX-80, that one's like really hard to find. It's like the last one you're ever gonna get. You can either pull that out of DMZ itself or combine 2 MP7, a shotgun, and an SO14. Combine all those things and you can make a TAC-56 out of it. You take 2 TAC-56s and a RAL, and that'll make a Joker, and then you take 2 Jokers and an M4 and it makes the SPX-80, and then so you can craft your way all the way up to the top. If you really just can't get, if you're just not lucky enough to find the really rare one, you can just craft it. Or if you just really don't want to get into the PvP and have that intense experience, you can just craft it. It's a huge grind, but you can get there. From that, you get 2 different byproducts. You get really good loot that's worth looting at all times because you want to extract with these things. You know, players will actually have them in their backpack. So even if you're fully juiced, right now there's no reason to go and loot enemy players because more often than not, it's just not worth it. There's nothing on them worth grabbing. But if you're looking for blueprints, if you're looking for guns, even if it's just crafting components in the long run, he's got an MP7 blueprint on him, well, it's worth taking. And then once you extract with those blueprints, that's where the player economy comes in. You can start trading blueprints, completely made guns that you can just turn in right then and there, but then there's still crafting components, so people will need like 30 or so MP7s in order to craft like a really high tier item. So a lot of these things are going to be moving in volume. So I think that would really be a good way to build an actual player economy around this mode while still feeling decidedly Call of Duty. While yes, this does seem pretty far-fetched, it sounds like it would take a lot of resources to do, I don't think it's necessarily out of the question. There have been leaks and rumors that maybe Activision is looking to put together a Call of Duty MMO. Warzone was like a byproduct of that process. DMZ is the next step. Well, I think the next step of DMZ is to create an actual living, breathing economy that you grind and you work through like an MMO. And I think this is a perfect structure for that. And I've said this 100 times to everyone I know, everyone I talk to about this mode. The important thing about DMZ is that the hard part's already done. The AI, they've got different factions, they got missions, they got all kinds of different loot to get, all these different crafting materials, you've got cash, you've got all this different stuff, and the gameplay is fun. That's the hard part, is getting a game mode that just works and it's actually fun to play. Again, the hard part is done. And so I think that it's a natural extension of what they already have to allow you to collect crafting components, to collect cash, to collect weapon blueprints, and to use them in some kind of complete economy. I think that would be an absolute blast, and I would love to grind out every single gun that they add to this game. But I want to hear what you think. Is that a stupid idea? Been thinking about this one a lot. Maybe I'm too close to the problem. What do you guys think? What comes to your mind when you think of what needs to be done for this game mode? Because honestly, there's a lot of opinions online. Like, for example, A lot of people think you should be able to stash up on a bunch of plate carriers and backpacks and stuff so that even if you die, you've got some more in your stash that you can pull out. I don't think that's what they want this mode to be like. I think they have a very particular feel and gameplay loop that they're going for, and I think that an extended stash, keeping equipment and stuff like that, is kind of antithetical to what they're doing. They're trying to keep it streamlined. They're trying to keep it very simple so that even if you die and you lose all of your gear, really not that hard to get it all back. I'm usually able to go from absolutely nothing to completely juiced within the first 10 minutes of the very next raid, and I think making that easier is the wrong. I think what needs to be built upon, what this game needs to take it to the next level, is time and money sinks. Things that you can just absolutely sink your teeth into and really grind out to make this mode worthwhile. I mean, you could add more calling cards, more sticker book challenges, but that's only going to get you so far. Something like this is going to be what pushes this game to the next level. I'm done talking. Thanks for listening. See you later.